People love the word accident. It sounds harmless. It sounds forgivable. It sounds like something that just happened. She didn't mean to. It just happened. She was drunk. She was lonely. But here's the uncomfortable truth most people avoid. Sleeping with someone is one of the least accidental things a human being can do. Because before bodies touch, minds move first. Before clothes come off, boundaries come down. And before the act happens, decisions are already made quietly, internally, long before anyone notices. Today, we're not here to attack, shame, or blame. We're here to understand. Because when you understand the psychology behind betrayal, replacement, and emotional drift, you stop blaming yourself, and you start seeing patterns clearly. This is Mind Unmasked. And today, we're talking about why she didn't accidentally sleep with him and what was really happening beneath the surface. Let's be clear about one thing from the start. This video is not about hating women. It's not about demonizing anyone, and it's not about excusing bad behavior either. This lecture is about human psychology, emotional decision making, and how people cross lines long before they break them. Because when someone says it was a mistake, what they often mean is, I regret the consequences, not the process. And understanding that difference can change how you see relationships forever. So if you've ever asked yourself, how could she do this? Why didn't I see it coming? Was I not enough? Stay with me, because the answer isn't simple, but it is revealing. The myth of the accident. Let's start with the biggest lie people tell themselves. There is no such thing as accidental intimacy. People don't trip and fall into someone's bed. They don't wake up one day shocked that emotional boundaries vanished overnight. What does happen is something far more subtle and dangerous. Permission is granted internally before behavior happens externally. Long before the physical act, there are moments like choosing to text back faster than usual, sharing personal frustrations, complaining about the relationship, laughing a little too long, feeling understood by someone new. None of these feel like betrayal on their own. But together, they form a quiet bridge from loyalty to curiosity. And once curiosity replaces commitment, the outcome is rarely accidental. Emotional justification comes first. One of the most important psychological truths is this. People rarely betray without first justifying it emotionally. Before sleeping with him, she likely told herself things like, my relationship hasn't been the same lately. I deserve to feel wanted. He understands me better. I'm not happy anyway. Nothing physical has happened yet. This self-talk matters. Because humans don't break their own moral rules unless they first rewrite them. By the time the physical line is crossed, the emotional line has already been erased. That's why many people feel little guilt in the moment. Guilt usually comes later, when reality returns. Emotional replacement happens before physical replacement. Here's something most people don't realize. Cheating often starts as emotional outsourcing. When emotional needs are met elsewhere, physical loyalty becomes fragile. If she felt unheard, unseen, unappreciated, or emotionally disconnected, she didn't immediately look for intimacy. She looked for validation, and validation is addictive. When someone new listens without expectations, compliments without history, shows interest without responsibility, the brain releases dopamine, the same chemical linked to desire and bonding. That chemical doesn't care about promises, history, or loyalty. It only cares about how someone makes you feel right now. The power of emotional momentum. People often say, I don't know how it went that far. But psychology explains it clearly. Small permissions create big outcomes. A late night conversation becomes emotional reliance. Emotional reliance becomes attachment. Attachment lowers resistance. Lower resistance removes boundaries. By the time opportunity appears, resistance is already gone. At that point, It doesn't feel like betrayal, it feels like alignment, and that's the most dangerous part. Why alcohol is often used as an excuse. You'll often hear, "I was drunk." Alcohol doesn't create desire. It removes restraint. It doesn't invent feelings. It amplifies what's already there. If nothing existed emotionally, alcohol wouldn't suddenly generate attraction strong enough to override values. Alcohol is often used afterward as a socially acceptable explanation, not a psychological one. The difference between regret and responsibility. Here's another hard truth. Many people regret being caught more than being disloyal. That doesn't mean they're heartless. It means the emotional process happened gradually, and the consequences arrived suddenly. Regret often focuses on the damage caused, the loss of stability, the judgment from others. Responsibility focuses on the choices made, the boundaries crossed, the internal permissions given, and not everyone is ready for that level of self-awareness. Why you often didn't see it coming. People hide emotional shifts better than physical ones. She didn't wake up planning to betray. She drifted, and drifting doesn't make noise. It looks like slight emotional distance, less patience, more privacy, with the phone defensiveness, justifying space. Most partners sense something is off, but dismiss it to avoid conflict. That's not weakness. That's trust. Unfortunately, trust doesn't protect you from someone else's internal decisions. This was not about your worth. This part matters. What happened was not proof that you were unlovable, boring, or replaceable. It was proof that someone chose short-term emotional relief over long-term integrity. Attraction elsewhere doesn't mean you lacked value. It means boundaries lacked reinforcement, and those are very different things. Understanding without self-blame. Understanding psychology doesn't mean accepting disrespect. It means removing confusion. When you understand that betrayal is a process, not a moment, you stop asking, "How could this happen?" and start asking, "What signs did I ignore and why?" That's where growth begins. What this teaches you going forward, this experience teaches painful but powerful lessons. Emotional boundaries matter as much as physical ones. Validation is dangerous when misplaced. Drift is more harmful than conflict. Silence often hides decisions already made, and most importantly, love without awareness is vulnerable. Sometimes the most painful truth isn't that she slept with someone else. It's realizing that the relationship was already changing quietly, internally, long before the moment that shattered everything. Not everything broken was an accident. Not everything lost was sudden, and not everything that ends was meant to last. But clarity is not cruelty. Understanding is not weakness. And awareness is the first step toward never being blindsided again. If this video helped you see things more clearly, you're not alone. This channel exists to unmask the hidden psychology behind human behavior honestly, calmly, and without illusion. This is Mind Unmasked. And sometimes, the truth hurts, but confusion hurts longer.